Hi, I'm Esther.
And I'm Sean.
I write about AI news here at Tech Target in Massachusetts.
And I edit Esther's stories.
We're here to talk with tech experts about everything AI and ChatGPT.
Don't forget Google Gemini.
Whether it's who's ahead in the generative AI race, the metaverse, digital twins, or even the latest in autonomous vehicles, we've got it covered. Right, Sean?
Yep, we've got it covered. Hi, everyone. This is Sean Sutler. I'm a senior news director here at Tech Target. I'm here with Rohan Karmarkar, managing director of partner solutions architecture at AWS. Welcome to the Targeting AI podcast from Tech Target News. Rohan?
It's great to be here, Sean.
It was so nice to have you. We've had a few other big tech companies on here, so we're really happy to have you. So, what's AWS's role and your role in helping partners use generative AI technology for their organization's applications?
That's a good start. From the onset, AWS recognized the importance of GenAI, and what we wanted to provide our customers and partners is a broad choice of foundational models and large language models that they can use. We believe that there's no one model that's going to meet all the customer use cases. And if the customers want to really unlock the value, they might use different models or a combination of different models for the same use case. This is why we launched a service called Amazon Bedrock, which is a fully managed service where customers can access models from various leading AI companies, including Anthropic, AI 21 Labs, Cohere, Meta, Mistral, Stability AI, and our own Amazon models as well. Uh, they can do this, in a very secure, responsible, and in a private way, so that they can build applications on top of this. Now, in addition to Amazon Bedrock, we also provide a lot of tooling that's required to implement generative AI applications at scale, and also the infrastructure, both NVIDIA as well as our own custom silicon infrastructure for customers who would want to train and run inference at scale on our infrastructure. Now, in addition to these capabilities, we've also have a very vibrant set of partners who help customers in implementing these applications. The partners range from consulting partners to implementation partners to software providers who provide generative AI software on top of AWS. Now, in order to recognize these partners and also to provide customers with ability to select the right partners, we introduced what we call a generative AI competency, which basically has pre-vetted and validated partners' capabilities, including their technical proficiency as well as customer success in implementing generative AI technology. And today we have 40 plus partners in this competencies that help customers, meet their business need using Gen AI.
So, specifically, how are partners like Automation Anywhere, Genesis, and Salesforce using generative AI? So, what are the main use cases they're using AWS platforms for?
So we are seeing a wide range of use cases across, multiple industries. So with Automation Anywhere, right? They recently expanded our collaboration, and they use Amazon Q, which is a fully managed generative AI powered assistant to configure and automate business transformation as well as complex enterprise workflows. Now, this helps them reduce the undifferentiated heavy lifting and automate a lot of tasks which are there in enterprise workflow, integrating with different data sources. A few other examples, you talked about Salesforce, which has built their capabilities on AWS. They have their own, Gen AI applications and a data platform. And there are other partners like Genpack and Loka and Kalent. We are building various industry solutions for healthcare, for life sciences, for financial services, and other industries as well.
Are you referring mainly to like things like claims processing or the financial side of the healthcare business, or across the whole continuum?
It's actually across the whole continuum. Let me give you an example from another partner of ours, Genpack, who's built a solution called Risk Canvas, which is used by fintech companies to detect and investigate and even prevent financial frauds. So what they do is they basically using GenAI, Amazon Bedrock, they look at million data points to create suspicious activity report and case summaries for different customers. Apex FinTech solution uses this solution, and they basically kind of report these suspicious activities and then do investigation on those activities whenever a financial transaction happens. Now, the customer Apex Tech FinTech in this particular case, saw 60% reduction of time spent by the analyst in building case summaries. Instead, the analyst can go focus their time on building in actually investigating the fraud rather than building the case summaries. The case summaries are automated through this solution.
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting. So, what does the AWS bring to the table as far as generative AI and machine learning? Because you still have SageMaker. What do you do that the other hyperscalers don't do? And we know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, let me kind of talk about how we think about generative AI and AI/ML across the board, right? So we think about it across like three layers, and different customers uses a combination of those three layers. So let me start with the bottom layer. So bottom layer is the layer what we call as the infrastructure layer, where we provide GPUs, like I mentioned before, NVIDIA, who's our partner as well. We provide best-in-class NVIDIA GPUs and software, as well as their CUDA software to basically train and run inference at scale. Apart from that, we have our own chipset in AWS Trainium and AWS Inferentia, where customers build LLMs and foundation model using that chipset. They can train and run inference as well. In addition, at this layer, we also have a family of tools in Amazon SageMaker, which simplifies the ML development process and provides a lot of different abilities to run ML operations or to kind of do various, kind of responsible framework implementations in terms of guardrails, in terms of clarification, in terms of model evaluation, and so forth. In our middle layer is Amazon Bedrock. We kind of talked about it already, and in the top layer is the application layer, where Amazon Q, which is our assistant, which integrates with 40 different kind of data sources, can be used to run conversational applications on GenAI. So those are the three stacks. Now, in terms of our capabilities, we've been doing AI ML for 25 plus years. And Sean, it'll be pretty interesting stats that I came across recently was 96% of all the AI ML unicorns identified by PageBook run on AWS, and 90% of 2024 Fortune AI companies are running on AWS. So we have a pretty broad, customers set which use our capabilities across the three layers.
I think I saw the figure 100,000 partners, maybe, or 100,000 people using the AWS AI platform.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a partner network, we have like more than 100,000 of partners, and there are millions of customers, AWS customers who use, AWS, including AIML.
Okay, so for all those customers, how do you help partners choose which LLM or foundation model they want to use? I mean, because you would think that you would want to promote the Titan family, but I know you don't. I know that you have it's a choice among many others on Bedrock. So how do you figure out? And is it like a best LLM for the best specific use case?
Yeah, that's how we think about it, right? And it didn't start with Bedrock, right? Even all the other AWS tools and services that we provide a set of native services, and there are a lot of partner services which augment or complement those services as well. So in this case, right, depending upon the use case, right, there are different factors that go into consideration for selecting a model. Obviously, performance and accuracy is one of the key factors. Cost and scale is also another factor. Sometimes you need a model to do a very specific task, and you don't need a large language model to do it. You can even do with a smaller size model to do a specific task. So cost and scale is an important criteria. For customers, model openness also is becoming important, in terms of how they choose the models. Data privacy and security around which models they use, and that's also a critical factor that goes in, especially in kind of regulated industries. It is repeatability and explainability is a key kind of consideration as well. Language support, we are seeing, outside of us, as you go, customers are asking us for different types of language support, so that also is a key consideration. Latency response times, as well as fine tuning ability, right? Because more and more, we've seen customers, mature customers start to fine tune the capabilities in the model and use their own data to differentiate themselves compared to their competition. So fine tuning capabilities of a model is also critical.
So you're not out there pushing Titan uh, at all, right? But sometimes is Titan the best model for the application, and in what cases is Titan recommended?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, the customers have different choice, right? Like when it comes to Titan, obviously, capabilities around fine tuning. There are different sizes of Titan model. Like those are the differentiating kind of areas there, where customers can choose to use Titan, models as well.
Okay, so as far as model choice, how do you help a partner choose between a proprietary model or open source? Like, are you tending to go pretty much open source as much as possible?
I think that decision, like I mentioned, is dependent on various factors again, right? So there's no one decision criteria, and for us, thought process is always to give them the option. We like, depending on certain requirements, we can recommend one model or the other, but I don't think we are pushing one over the other, right? We're seeing a lot of customers use Anthropic, for example, the Cloud 3 model, which has got one of the best performance out there in the industry. It's not an open source model, but we've also seen customers use, Mistral and Llama, which have much more openness as well. So it's a various applications that kind of drive the model choice.
Okay, so as far as model choice, how do you help a partner choose between a proprietary model or open source? Like, are you tending to go pretty much open source as much as possible?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think, there are a few kind of considerations there, right? So one, I think with this technology, there is a lot of emphasis on security and privacy. Now, AWS, we have a strong security culture across the board. We consider security to be job zero. And when it comes to generative AI applications, also we provide enterprise grade security and privacy, which is a key differentiation. And this is what businesses are looking from, whether it's a small business, a startup, or a pretty large enterprise, right? Nobody wants a less secure kind of implementation, right? So security is one key thing. I think the broad choices of model, that's another differentiation. And it's so easy to kind of evaluate different models for use cases, change models even, as you're implementing, or even after post production. We've seen customers move from one model to the other model to meet their requirements. So the model choices is also critical. And the third thing I would call out is, we've seen customers start with a problem statement and how to use generative AI to solve that problem. But the moment they want to scale to production, the AI problem becomes a data problem, and you need to have the right data foundations in place for them to implement generative AI at scale. And this is where we have got a very broad set of data and analytics services which integrate well with each other, which have many of them have vector capabilities now, which kind of creates the right foundation that you need for building your generative AI applications and scaling the applications as well.
Gotcha. So in doing all this stuff, what are some of the biggest challenges, both for your partners and for you, in implementing generative AI applications? Because it's still new. Implementation at scale is really something that's just happening now. So, what are the biggest challenges, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, and this is a pretty interesting area, right? Like with any kind of new technology, what we've seen historically is this technology is adopted by the developers, and then it becomes like a mainstream technology that enterprise adopt. With Gen AI, we've seen exactly the opposite thing, right? It's been uh, it's been pushed top down in many cases, right, where the board and the CEOs, they want to implement more Gen AI. So we've seen a different kind of adoption pattern in Gen AI, which is pretty interesting compared to the other adoption patterns of new technology. Now, the side effect of that is obviously there are so many use cases that a customer can, or a partner can identify. Recently, I was talking to a customer who had identified more than 300 plus use cases for generative AI. Now, the critical thing there is to kind of really identify the high impact use cases. Otherwise, the POCs or the prototypes they do, from a technology standpoint it works, but the financial doesn't work, right? Because the ROI you get by solving a very small problem is not high compared to the investments that go in implementing that technology. So like the challenge we see right now is customers trying to identify the right use cases, the right high impact areas where the ROI is just justifiable. So that's very critical as well. uh, Now, adopting this at scale, obviously, it's still expensive if you're doing fine tuning and pre-training, right? The GPU availability and cost are pretty high, so the cost sometimes becomes a barrier. Model sizes becomes a barrier in some cases. That's why we've seen cases where customers want smaller models as well, right? Security and privacy is big, kind of reasons for customers to kind of look at it. And many enterprise are evolving their security frameworks and responsible AI frameworks as well. So sometimes, they do a POC, but they want certain kind of controls put in place into their organizations before they can implement and scale, right? So these are some of the kind of challenges typically we see with any new technology. The same is true with generative AI.
So just to switch gears a little bit here, you do this AI and generative AI for a living. So what interests you about generative AI personally? I mean, do you use Q on a daily basis? Do you use some other generative AI chatbot?
Yeah, I definitely use Q and Bedrock, for a lot of things. Obviously, for my work, right, at Amazon, as you might have heard, we write a lot of documents, we read a lot of documents, we write those 6 page memos, right? So, this technology and Q is really a interesting tool for me. I think personally, for me, it's reduced my document writing time because I use Q, and it's also reduced time because I read so many documents over a week. Taking manual notes and summarizing, right, using Q to summarize documents is has been a pretty interesting kind of use case for me personally. Apart from that, outside of work, obviously, kind of generating funny memes and pictures and sending it to friends and family. We like to do a lot of traveling as well, so we started doing like trip planning, trip itineraries using like Party Rock and Amazon Q tools and so on. So it's been a fun ride.
I just planned a trip to Argentina later this summer, and I wish I had used a generative AI to help me because it was so complicated, the different flights. I think this is the last question, pretty much. Let's say we look 10 years into the future. How will the business landscape look like then? Like, to what extent will generative AI and AI be permeating all business, transactions and planning and new product development? And what role will generative AI have at that point in the enterprise? And how will your role at AWS have evolved by then?
That's a very interesting question, right? And we do think about the long term. I think, in my opinion, there are two kind of big things that are going to happen as this technology evolves, right? One is, uh, every customer would use their own data to differentiate, right? Because if there are multiple customers using the same model, they'll not be able to differentiate themselves. So data is going to be a big differentiator. And many large customers we've seen and partners also have a lot of data that they generate, which is their own proprietary data. They're going to use that data to fine tune or even train their own models to be very specific to a use case or task. So we're going to see a lot of that, fine tuning and in creating their own kind of models. Uh, the second thing, I think is going to happen is hyper personalization. It's like we talked about the trip planning example, right? So today, if you go to Party Rock and use Cloud or Titan and ask the question, and I do the same thing, both of us are going to get the same responses. When you travel, you might like to do something else. While I travel, I like to probably do kayaking and kind of like to eat pizza. So the responses are going to get hyper personalized, right, depending upon what I like to do, or you like to do. So I think hyper personalization is going to be a big kind of area that various partners and customers are going to focus on. And then the last thing I'd say is, like, it's going to evolve to automate a lot more complex activities. Like right now, if you look at it, you can plan a trip, but you have to still go and do the bookings and like reservations outside of it, right? But I think it is going to evolve to the stage where you can say, oh, go, I like this itinerary, go book the itinerary, and the agents and the complex workflow will kick in and do all the reservations and bookings and plan the trip for us.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that too. So anyway, thank you for letting us, Rohan. Thanks so much for being on the Targeting AI podcast and give us a glimpse into the inner workings of AWS's role in building this generative AI ecosystem.
No, thank you, Sean. It is a pleasure to be here.